Please tell me Mr. Ramos is not replacing me as Dr. Doom via Parker Robbins. Is there something you're not telling me? Anyway, I don't want to step on your interview.
The man who built the Marvel Cinematic Universe has reportedly unleashed a devastating attack that could destroy everything he created, and the target is shocking beyond belief. Robert Downey Jr., the architect of a multi-billion-dollar empire that dominated global entertainment for over a decade, is allegedly pointing his finger directly at Pedro Pascal, the actor now being whispered about as the death of the MCU itself. Industry insiders claim RDJ has been privately telling colleagues that Pascal represents everything wrong with modern Hollywood casting, calling him a talentless hack who's riding political correctness rather than genuine ability. These aren't just casual complaints either. Sources suggest Downey has been vocal about his concerns to Marvel executives, Disney board members, and anyone who'll listen. The whispers have grown so loud that they've reached the very top of the entertainment industry, creating a schism that threatens to tear apart the most successful film franchise in history. This isn't Hollywood gossip or manufactured drama for clicks. This is a war between Marvel's glorious past and what many see as its inevitable, crumbling future, with two of the biggest names in entertainment locked in a battle that could determine whether the MCU survives or dies. The disaster began long before cameras started rolling, when Marvel announced Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic in what should have been a triumphant moment for the Fantastic Four reboot. Instead, it triggered an immediate fan revolt that caught Disney completely off guard and reportedly had RDJ shaking his head in disbelief. Sources close to the Iron Man star claim he warned Marvel executives months in advance that Pascal was the wrong choice, arguing that the actor's polarizing political commentary and signature look would clash violently with Reed Richards' earnest scientific persona. Downey allegedly called it casting for headlines instead of heart, predicting that fans would reject Pascal before he even appeared on screen. The backlash was swift and brutal. Within hours of the announcement, social media exploded with criticism.
Whether they like it or not, they're never getting rid of
boycott threats, and demands for alternative actors like John Krasinski or Adam Driver. Pascal's age became a talking point. His mustache was mocked relentlessly, and his previous political statements were dissected by angry fans who felt Marvel was prioritizing activism over entertainment. RDJ reportedly told colleagues, "I told you so," as the controversy grew, watching his predictions come true in real time as the very audience he had spent years building turned against Marvel's new chosen face. When Fantastic Four: First Steps finally hit theaters in July 2025, it wasn't just a disappointment, it was an absolute catastrophe that validated every concern RDJ had privately expressed about Pascal's casting. The film, built on a massive $200 million budget that should have guaranteed blockbuster status, barely managed to cross the break-even point globally, posting numbers that sent shockwaves through Disney's boardrooms and left executives scrambling for explanations. Critics tore the movie apart with unprecedented viciousness, calling Pascal's performance wooden, miscast, and completely wrong for the character, while fans abandoned the franchise in droves. The film's devastating 80% drop in its second weekend wasn't just bad. It was historic for all the wrong reasons, representing one of the steepest declines for a major superhero release in MCU history. Box office analysts called it a franchise killer, while industry insiders whispered that Pascal had become box office poison overnight. RDJ's response was reportedly cold satisfaction mixed with genuine sadness, as sources claim he told Marvel executives, "This is what happens when you ignore your audience for politics." The failure wasn't just financial, it was a crushing blow to Marvel's reputation for quality casting and storytelling, proving that even the MCU wasn't immune to spectacular failure when it prioritized the wrong elements. The most explosive revelations came from behind-the-scenes reports during Avengers Doomsday filming, where Pascal's mysterious early departure in August 2025 sparked rumors of massive creative conflicts and on-set tension. While Disney's PR machine desperately spun the early wrap as a scheduling adjustment.
Been a dream to join the MCU. The movie is called The Fantastic Four. I'll confess, I did all my stretching for real.
Industry insiders painted a dramatically different picture of chaos, frustration, and barely contained hostility. Sources claim Pascal's role was quietly reduced from protagonist to supporting character after test audiences responded poorly to his scenes, with some reports suggesting his screen time was cut by more than 60% in post-production. The actor who was supposed to be Marvel's new leading man suddenly found himself relegated to what insiders called glorified cameo status, raising questions about whether his performance was so problematic that Marvel had to salvage the film by minimizing his presence. RDJ, who was filming his Doctor Doom scenes during the same period, reportedly maintained professional courtesy, but was overheard making cutting remarks about actors who can't handle the pressure and miscast leads who drag everyone down. The tension was allegedly so thick that production assistants were warned to keep the two actors' schedules separate whenever possible, creating an atmosphere of barely controlled hostility that threatened to derail the entire $300 million production. If these behind-the-scenes revelations are blowing your mind, hit that like button and subscribe. We dig deep into the Hollywood stories that mainstream media won't touch. The contrast between RDJ's public statements and his alleged private feelings created one of the most fascinating examples of Hollywood damage control in recent memory. In June 2025, Downey gave a carefully crafted statement praising Pascal as someone who reaffirms my faith in our industry and calling their collaboration professionally rewarding. But industry veterans immediately recognized the calculated language of corporate-mandated PR. The statement was notably clinical and professional, completely lacking the genuine enthusiasm and personal warmth that Downey typically shows when discussing actors he truly respects and admires. Compare his Pascal comments to how he talks about Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, or Mark Ruffalo. The difference is stark and telling, revealing layers of subtext that suggest a much more complicated relationship than the public facade. Sources claim the statement was written by Disney's crisis management team and that RDJ was contractually obligated to deliver it, with some insiders suggesting he was less than enthusiastic about having to publicly support an actor he privately considered a major mistake. The forced nature of the praise became even more obvious when fans analyzed Downey's body language during joint interviews, noting his lack of eye contact, minimal interaction, and subtle signs of discomfort whenever Pascal's performance was discussed. The fan revolution against Pascal reached unprecedented levels of organization and intensity, transforming from scattered complaints into a coordinated campaign that threatened Marvel's entire future strategy. Boycott hashtags trended worldwide for months, with Not My Reed Richards and Replace Pascal generating millions of posts from frustrated fans who felt their voices were being completely ignored by Disney executives. Viral videos comparing Pascal unfavorably to fan-favorite alternatives like John Krasinski, Adam Driver, and even Dev Patel racked up tens of millions of views, creating a parallel narrative that Marvel couldn't control or suppress. The backlash wasn't limited to casual criticism. It evolved into sophisticated campaigns involving organized review bombing, merchandise boycotts, and coordinated social media strikes timed to coincide with major Marvel announcements. Fan-created content imagining alternative castings generated more positive engagement than official Marvel promotional materials, highlighting just how disconnected the studio had become from its core audience. RDJ reportedly watched this uprising with grim satisfaction, telling associates that fans always know better than executives, and this is what happens when you try to force-feed audiences something they don't want. The movement gained such momentum that it began affecting Pascal's other projects, creating what industry analysts called Pedro Pascal fatigue, that threatened to damage his entire career beyond just his Marvel involvement. Disney's response to the growing controversy revealed a company in full panic mode, desperately trying to contain a situation that had spiraled completely beyond their control. CEO Bob Iger and Marvel head Kevin Feige initially doubled down with public statements about commitment to diversity and creative vision. But behind closed doors, reports suggested chaos, finger-pointing, and emergency strategy sessions. The company quietly began scaling back several high-profile diversity initiatives after internal polling showed growing fan resentment and declining trust in Marvel's decision-making process. Marketing campaigns for Doomsday were hastily rewritten to minimize Pascal's prominence, with early promotional materials that barely featured the actor who was supposed to be the film's emotional centerpiece. Focus groups were reportedly brutal in their assessment of Pascal's performance, leading to expensive reshoots and digital alterations designed to reduce his screen presence. Most telling was Disney's sudden shift in messaging, moving away from promoting Pascal as the new face of Marvel to emphasizing ensemble cast dynamics and RDJ's return as Doctor Doom. Insiders claim the company spent millions on crisis management consultants and public relations specialists, all trying to figure out how to salvage a situation that RDJ had apparently predicted from the beginning. The desperation was so obvious that even mainstream entertainment media began questioning Marvel's casting decisions and strategic direction. The pressure surrounding Avengers Doomsday represents the highest stakes gamble in Marvel's history, with the studio betting everything on a film that's already been damaged by controversy before its release. at an estimated $300 million production budget, plus marketing costs that could push the total investment past $500 million. Doomsday needs to gross over $1.2 billion worldwide just to break even, a massive challenge even under ideal circumstances. The film carries the weight of being Marvel's attempt to prove the franchise isn't dead, that the MCU can still deliver blockbuster entertainment despite recent failures and fan backlash. Pascal's reduced role creates additional complications, as Marvel must now sell audiences on a movie where the supposed lead character has been relegated to supporting status due to poor audience testing. RDJ's Doctor Doom performance has become the film's primary selling point, with marketing heavily emphasizing his villainous return rather than Pascal's heroic journey. The December 2026 release date looms like a judgment day for everyone involved, with industry analysts predicting that failure could effectively end the current phase of the MCU and force Disney to completely reimagine its superhero strategy. Sources suggest RDJ views the film as a final test of whether Marvel can recover from what he considers catastrophic miscasting, with some insiders claiming he's already planning his exit strategy if Doomsday fails to meet expectations. The long-term damage to Marvel's brand trust may already be irreversible, regardless of how Doomsday ultimately performs at the box office. The very existence of this public controversy has fractured the Marvel fan base in ways that transcend simple disappointment about individual films or casting choices. For the first time in the MCU's history, a significant portion of the audience actively distrusts Marvel's creative decisions and questions whether the studio understands its own characters and audience. RDJ's alleged warnings about Pascal have created a narrative framework that positions the Iron Man actor as a prophet of doom, someone who saw disaster coming, while studio executives remain blindly optimistic about their political messaging over entertainment value. The psychological impact on fans cannot be understated. Many who grew up with the MCU now feel betrayed by a studio they once trusted implicitly, creating a generational divide that could affect Marvel properties for years to come. Social media analysis shows that fan engagement with Marvel content has dropped significantly, with positive sentiment declining even for projects unrelated to Pascal or the Fantastic Four. The corporate response has only made things worse, with Disney's defensive posturing and obvious damage control efforts confirming fan suspicions that the studio is more concerned with protecting its image than acknowledging its mistakes. Industry experts suggest that rebuilding trust will require more than successful films. It will demand fundamental changes in Marvel's decision-making process and a genuine acknowledgement of fan concerns that seems unlikely given current executive attitudes. The ultimate question facing Marvel isn't whether Avengers Doomsday will succeed or fail. It's whether the franchise can survive the reputational damage caused by what RDJ allegedly saw as a preventable disaster from the beginning. Pedro Pascal, fairly or unfairly, has become the symbol of everything fans believe went wrong with modern Marvel, representing a studio that prioritized politics over storytelling and activism over entertainment value. If Doomsday fails when it hits theaters in December 2026, history will remember it as the moment Robert Downey Jr.'s warnings about the talentless hack who ruined his legacy came true, marking the end of the most successful film franchise in entertainment history. But even if the film succeeds commercially, the psychological scars left by this controversy may never fully heal, creating a permanent divide between Marvel and a significant portion of its audience. RDJ's alleged private comments about Pascal represent more than just personal animosity. They reflect a fundamental clash between old Hollywood values of audience connection and new Hollywood priorities of social messaging. The man who built the MCU from nothing now watches helplessly as his creation potentially crumbles under the weight of decisions he reportedly opposed from the beginning. Whether this story represents the twilight of Marvel's golden age or merely a temporary setback will depend not just on box office numbers, but on whether Disney learns from what RDJ apparently tried to teach them all along, that audiences, not executives, ultimately determine success or failure in entertainment.